The reading of my grandfather's will took place on a scorching August afternoon. I sat in Mr. Davidson's law office, watching my siblings shift impatiently in their expensive suits while dust motes danced in the sunbeams streaming through the window. Brandon, the oldest, kept checking his Rolex. Sophia couldn't stop fiddling with her designer handbag. They both looked out of place in the small-town law office, having long ago traded rural life for big city success. To my grandson Brandon Sullivan, Mr. Davidson read, adjusting his wire-rimmed glasses, I leave my investment portfolio, valued at approximately $2.4 million. Brandon's smirk grew wider. To my granddaughter Sophia Sullivan, I leave my properties in the city, including the apartment building on Fifth Avenue and the commercial space in the business district. Total value approximately $3.1 million. Sophia actually clapped her hands like a delighted child. And to my youngest grandchild, Olivia Sullivan. Mr. Davidson paused, shuffling his papers. I leave the family farm, including all 300 acres and associated equipment. The room fell silent for a moment before Brandon burst out laughing. The farm? That worthless dust bowl? Oh, that's perfect. Sophia joined in, her carefully made-up face crinkling with amusement. Poor Olivia, stuck with Grandpa's pet project. What are you going to do, become a farmer? I kept my face carefully blank, though my fingers clenched in my lap. The farm had been my favorite place since childhood. While my siblings chased money and status in the city, I'd spent every summer helping Grandpa tend to what he called his special ground. There are some additional documents regarding the farm, Mr. Davidson added, sliding a thick envelope across his desk. Your grandfather was quite specific about certain aspects of its inheritance. I took the envelope, noting its unexpected weight. Before I could open it, Brandon stood up, straightening his Italian silk tie. Well, this has been fun, he said, not bothering to hide his glee. Sophia and I should head back to the city. Some of us have real businesses to run. He paused, giving me a patronizing smile. Let us know if you need help selling that wasteland, Liv, though I doubt anyone would want it. After they left, Mr. Davidson cleared his throat uncomfortably. Miss Sullivan, Olivia, there's something else you should know. Your grandfather left specific instructions that the farm cannot be sold for at least 1 year from his death. Any attempt to sell before then will result in the property reverting to Brandon and Sophia. I nodded slowly. He wanted to make sure I gave it a chance. There's more. He lowered his voice. The night before he died, your grandfather came to see me. He said to tell you to check the survey maps in the old barn. All of them. He seemed very insistent about that. Driving out to the farm that evening, my mind wandered back to the last conversation I'd had with Grandpa just a week before he passed. The land speaks to those who listen, he'd said, looking out over his fields with an odd intensity. Your brother and sister, they only hear money talking. But you, Olivia, you've always heard the real music. At the time, I thought it was just another of his poetic farmer sayings. Now I wondered if there had been more to it. The farm looked exactly as it always had. The weathered farmhouse, the massive red barn, the fields stretching toward the horizon. But something felt different. Maybe because now it was mine. In the barn, I found the old file cabinet where Grandpa kept his papers. The bottom drawer was marked Surveys, but when I pulled it open, I found something unexpected. Beneath the regular land surveys was a false bottom, and under that, a leather-bound journal and a set of maps unlike any I'd seen before. The journal was written in Grandpa's precise handwriting. My dearest Olivia, if you're reading this, then the land is yours now. You're probably wondering why I left you the farm instead of something valuable like what your siblings received. The truth is, I left them what they wanted, but I left you what's priceless. These maps show what lies beneath our fields. I discovered it 40 years ago, but I kept it hidden, waiting for the right moment, the right person. The world wasn't ready then. But now, with companies like Tesla desperate for what we have, the time has come. But be careful. Once they know what's down there, everyone will want a piece of it. Trust no one until you understand the full scope of what you've inherited. All my love, Grandpa. P.S. Check the barn's northwest corner. The geological testing equipment is hidden behind the old tractor. You'll need it to prove what I found. My hands trembled as I pulled out the maps. They were geological surveys, but far more detailed than normal land maps. They showed layers deep underground, with certain areas marked in red, along with notes in Grandpa's handwriting. Primary deposit, 300 feet depth, high concentration. Assay confirms 98% purity. Estimated total volume exceeds all known North American deposits. But what exactly had he found? The answer came in a sealed envelope at the back of the journal. Inside was a chemical analysis report from a private laboratory dated just 6 months ago. My eyes widened as I read the results. Lithium. One of the largest lithium deposits in North America, sitting right under our supposedly worthless farm. The implications hit me like a thunderbolt. Lithium, the essential component for electric car batteries, for the entire green energy revolution. The thing companies like Tesla were desperately seeking as demand outstripped supply. Grandpa hadn't been running a failing farm. He'd been protecting what could be worth billions. But he'd known he couldn't reveal it too soon. The technology for efficient extraction hadn't existed when he first found it. The market hadn't been ready. So he'd waited, worked the land, kept his secret. And he'd chosen me to inherit it because he knew I wouldn't immediately sell out to the highest bidder. My phone buzzed. A text from Brandon. Hey sis, seriously though, I know a developer who might take that dirt patch off your hands. Might even get you 6 figures if you're lucky. I looked at the geological map spread across the barn's workbench. Over the next 3 months, I practically lived in the barn, working through Grandpa's research. The geological testing equipment he'd hidden turned out to be state-of-the-art, probably worth more than most of the farm equipment combined. Every test I ran confirmed what his notes had suggested. We were sitting on one of the largest lithium deposits ever discovered in North America. But I knew I had to be careful. The moment this got out, everything would change. I hired a private geological survey company, making them sign ironclad NDAs before letting them anywhere near the property. Their report came back with a single word written in bold at the top: extraordinary. The chief geologist pulled me aside after their final tests. Miss Sullivan, do you understand what you have here? This isn't just a lithium deposit. It's a lithium kingdom. The concentration levels, the purity, the accessibility. It's unprecedented. I nodded, thinking of Grandpa's patient decades of secrecy. How long until someone notices? They already have. He handed me his phone, showing a satellite image of my farm. See these surveillance patterns? Major tech companies have been mapping this area for months. They know something's here. They just don't know exactly what. He was right. Within weeks, the offers started coming. First from mining companies, lowball bids for mineral rights exploration. Then from larger corporations, their offers gradually increasing as their satellites revealed more data. Brandon called again, his tone less condescending now. Liv, I keep hearing rumors about your land. Some big companies asking questions. What's going on out there? Just farming, I replied sweetly. You know, tending to my worthless dirt patch. Then came the day that changed everything. A sleek private helicopter landed in my front field, and out stepped Elena Martinez, Tesla's head of resource acquisition. Miss Sullivan, she said, extending her hand. We need to talk. I led her to the farmhouse kitchen, where Grandpa and I had shared so many conversations about the land's secrets. She didn't waste time with small talk. We know what's under your farm, she said, placing a folder on my worn kitchen table, and we want to make you an offer. I opened the folder. The number made me catch my breath. $2 billion, all cash. That's just the starting point, Elena added. We're prepared to go higher. Much higher. I thought about Brandon's Rolex, Sophia's designer bags, all their years of mocking my connection to this worthless land. I'll need time to consider it, I said carefully. Elena nodded. You have 48 hours. But remember, we're not the only ones interested, and not everyone plays nice. She was right about that. The next morning, I caught 2 men in suits taking soil samples near the back fence. The day after, a drone hovered over the barn until I shot it down with Grandpa's old shotgun. Then came the call I'd been expecting. Sophia, her voice dripping with fake concern. Darling, what's this I hear about Tesla sniffing around your farm? You need to be careful. These big companies will take advantage of you. Why don't you let Brandon and me handle the negotiations? I smiled into the phone. You mean like how you handled mocking me at the will reading? Oh, Liv, we were just teasing. You know we love you. We're family. We should work together on this. Family? I couldn't help but laugh. Now we're family, not when you were calling my inheritance worthless. Not when you were trying to pressure me into selling for pennies." There was a long pause. When Sophia spoke again, her voice was different, cold, calculating. "You need us, Olivia. You don't know how to handle something like this. One wrong move and you'll lose everything." "Goodbye, Sophia." I had other calls to make. The first was to Mr. Davidson, my grandfather's lawyer. "I need you to look at something." 2 hours later, he sat in my kitchen, reviewing Tesla's offer and Grandpa's documentation. "Your grandfather was brilliant," he said finally. "He didn't just find the lithium. He patented a specific extraction process for this type of deposit. Anyone who wants to mine here will need to use his method." Which means you don't have to sell. You can partner, license the technology, maintain control of the land. Your grandfather gave you more than just a farm, Olivia. He gave you leverage. Armed with this knowledge, I called Elena Martinez back. "I've considered Tesla's offer, and I'm not selling. But I am willing to discuss a partnership. Your money and infrastructure, my land and patents, profit sharing on the extracted lithium." There was a long pause. "Patents?" "My grandfather didn't just find the lithium. He developed a proprietary extraction process specifically for this type of deposit. The paperwork was filed 20 years ago." Another pause. "I'll need to discuss this with the board." 3 days later, I sat in Tesla's corporate headquarters signing a very different kind of deal. Not a sale, a partnership. One that would make the farm's $2 billion valuation look like pocket change. The news broke the next morning. My phone exploded with calls and texts, but I only answered one, from Brandon. "Why didn't you tell us?" he demanded. "Tell you what?" I kept my voice neutral. "That the worthless farm might be worth something." "Olivia, this is serious. We're talking billions of dollars." "No, you're talking billions of dollars. I'm talking about the land Grandpa trusted me to protect. The legacy he knew I'd understand." "We're your family." "You mean like when you laughed at my inheritance? Like when you tried to pressure me into selling for nothing?" "That kind of family." Silence. "The farm was never worthless," I continued. "Grandpa knew that. He also knew who would see its real value, not just the lithium, but the land itself. That's why he chose me." I hung up and walked out to the barn, breathing in the familiar scent of hay and earth. The geological testing equipment still sat where I'd first found it, a testament to Grandpa's decades of patient planning. Opening his journal, I reread his final note to me. "The land speaks to those who listen. You've always heard its music, Olivia. Now let it sing for you." A week later, I stood in the same barn, but now it was filled with Tesla engineers, environmental consultants, and development teams. The lithium extraction would be done sustainably, respecting the land Grandpa had protected for so long. Sophia and Brandon showed up unannounced that afternoon, their lawyers in tow. "We want to contest the will," Brandon announced. Grandpa wasn't in his right mind, giving away something this valuable without telling anyone. I smiled, thinking of the decades of careful documentation, the patents, the testing data. Actually, he knew exactly what he was doing. He just knew you wouldn't understand. Understand what? That some things are worth more than money. That patience and faith in the land are worth more than quick profits. I turned to the lawyers. "You're welcome to contest the will. But I should warn you, Grandpa spent 40 years making sure his choice was legally ironclad." They left empty-handed, finally understanding what they'd lost. Not just the billions, but the chance to be part of something remarkable. Standing in my kitchen that evening, watching the sunset paint the fields gold, I pulled out my phone and calculated the farm's current value, not just the lithium, but the patents, the partnerships, the future developments. Almost $12 billion. Not bad for a worthless patch of dirt. But the real value wasn't in the money. It was in the legacy Grandpa had entrusted to me, the faith he'd shown in choosing the granddaughter who heard the land's music. Let Brandon keep his Rolex. Let Sophia have her designer bags. I had something better. I had the land, its secrets, and the knowledge that sometimes the greatest treasures are the ones others are too blind to see. The farm had never been worthless. It had just been waiting for the right person to discover its true worth.